I've been watching every week, don't worry.
Search together, search together. IPSA. We're not just a name in a directory. Local minds with national synergy.
Comment, bienvenue. Welcome to another IPSA Kind of Magic, IPSA, the Association of Independent Personal Search Agents, currently chaired by Hamish McClay. And we are welcoming back into the fold Sharon Whitby, luckily of Whitefield, now of Insight.
Yeah.
So she's gained insight.
That's it. Yeah.
That's what it is. And before we get to that, Hamish, would you like to start us off?
Well, IPSA, as we write in the song, is not just a name in a directory. There's much, much more to it. And I think what we're actually finding with the stories of people who actually, how did their journey bring them to this state, poor souls, that they thought that working on local authority searches was a good thing, and actually to join IPSA too as well. Got a couple of interesting things. First of all, Sharon's just rejoined, if that would actually put it my previously. She's been in IPSA for years and years. I don't know when. No doubt Sharon can tell us about that. So she's not new, but what it was a solar. She had to get through the gatekeepers to get to IPSA. So it'll be interesting to hear about that part of the journey. But just to put the whole thing in perspective, just to show how local people are absolutely exquisite. A question was put to me a couple of days ago as to what we could do. This was a completely new completely new direction. Wasn't expecting it at all. And the question was, hey, look, this council, we need to get a search done as quickly as we can. What can you do with it? At the moment, we spoke to the council and they're going to take 5 weeks and beyond. We spoke to a search provider and they said they would take 3 weeks. Or 5, 3 weeks. Spoke to Sharon and it was more or less within 3 days, certainly within 5 working days. Now, that's because she knows the council. And what a difference that can actually sort of make to a transaction. But no, absolutely welcome. It's great to have you sort of on board, both as a solo member with Insight, Sharon, but also today we get to sort of hear about your journey too.
Well, welcome back to the fold, Sharon. It's been. We've known on the show Sharon in a different form, but now it feels almost like you have broken free of your original shell casing and have emerged the graceful butterfly in Insight property searches. So welcome. And not only that, but I mean, I've been witness to how IPSA has grown and slightly morphed under the stewardship of Hamish. I'm sure that you consider it more than just useful being a full member of IPSA. Was it a struggle to get here, or did you find it just natural?
Well, it was on my priority list to get back in the fold because, first of all, I'd like to thank all the members of IPSA for support in setting me up, coming to me for a few searches, Elan for their platform. So the contacts I had previously and being part of that network who support each other has really accelerated my startup, because otherwise where would you go for systems, what's going on in the industry? So everyone's been really supportive. And I heard there was an exam that I had to pass and I was like, oh my goodness, although you're doing the job on time, what's it going to be? And everyone was going to be, everyone was saying, oh, it'll be fine, it's just a chat. So I thought it was a chat between me and Jackie, and then Heather was there, Mahesh was there, and I was like, oh my goodness. And the questions, and some of it I was probably a little bit unsure of, but I was on the right path. But some of it, was that chat was a great insight, pardon the pun, how to improve what I'm doing, because you're doing a job for so long, but there's still so much to learn, and the knowledge of all the other members that are actually in IPSA that are, have been around for a long time. And that's what they said, we're here to support you. And if ever you're unsure, or I would add that, and that's just helped me to, knuckle down and add that bit more to what I already do. So yeah, it was a good test.
So how long has it been since you actually started Insight now?
So I kind of launched it in January. So yeah. But
Well,
I
here
was
we
doing
are.
all the background work. So now we're mid-January. The day of the IPSA conference was my first official day. So
Good Lord.
in January. Yeah. So that was the day I started work.
Well, I knew you were coming back into the fold, or you were aiming to early on, and I was really pleased and rooting for you. So glad that went as well as it did. I guess being a member of IPSA is as much about shared knowledge and support as it is about camaraderie. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. So, as I've said about the shared knowledge
Yeah.
of all of us together, of going to the local people. If I get an order, I know who to go to because they're an expert in that area. And also, like all along, all of us are building relationships outside the IPSA, and you sort of meet people and you think, oh my gosh, they'd be great for IPSA members to know about, or there's a service that IPSA members should know about. And, it's just adding to our value of what we already do.
Yeah. Just anybody who's joining us now, as I see, it's been a whole influx of people. You are in the channel for the Association of Independent Personal Search Agents. Searching is the gentle art of making sure you know as much information that is relevant to you before or during the purchase of a house or dwelling or office block, whatever it might be. In England and Wales, and of course Scotland, but we don't cover there under IPSA. But in England, well, what we do is we make sure that we have local knowledge. So having people who are specialists. So what area are you covering, Sharon?
So I'm based in Cambridgeshire area. That's the area I'm covering at the moment, Peterborough, Fenland. But as you know from previously, when I worked with Whitefield, we were London based, and before that I was PSG, Hillingdon, Hounslow. So I covered a lot of councils over the years and made great connections with council staff. So yeah, I've got a variety of knowledge really, and building up relationships now in the area where I live. So that was it, so I thought I'd start some conversations around here and start networking and getting to know the local people around here. So yeah, it's been different and enjoyable. Yeah, really enjoyable.
Hamish, it's all about local connections, isn't it? Really, and although Sharon's at the beginning of this journey, she's been on quite a journey all so far.
Oh, absolutely, which we're going to hear about, of course. But the important thing, and I mean, it is absolutely great because there is that camaraderie between us, but we can actually share. And as Sharon pointed out, we've almost got a continuous professional development sort of going on in the background, because any of these changes, this is one of the sort of great things, of course, with Sharon actually, there she is. She's been beavering away for all these years. I don't know if she'll tell us when she first got into searches.
Yes.
There she was, nicely experienced, and I did exactly the same thing. Mind you, I managed it a little bit quicker, but not that I meant it, but I realised I've been beavering away for about sort of something like 15 to 18 months on my own or with my wife, as the original business actually was, and didn't realise there was anything out there. So mine was a really, because I was one of the very, very early members of IPSA. In fact, I've still got my logo as a sort of founder member. It wasn't actually a founder member, because that was people like sort of Jackie and Steve, one of the great guys from the past. But really, it was actually finding that there was somebody there that has the knowledge, and if there's queries to answer as well, and challenges with councils. And one of the great things, of course, with Sharon being in the new territory, getting to know people there, it does expand her part, and therefore it's great. It's just, and what we need to be doing, of course, is sort of encouraging more people, because we've even got a training facility now. So anybody, right from the absolute start, if they just wanted to get involved and thought this kind of work would be interesting and good, we now have a training mechanism, so they can be trained completely from the start. And one of the things we do have, of course, what Sharon had to go through first of all was the recognition and the acceptance by the Property Codes Compliance Board, because Sharon, like all other members of IPSA, does have this particular, if you like, the regulatory aspect. So we're actually sort of set up to cover regulatory searches. So all of these things are nicely put in place, which, as Sharon said, it was great in the early. That wasn't there. That fabric, that relationship, it just wasn't there. So it had to be built. But it's so good to sort of have that now, so everybody can actually rely on it. And like Sharon mentioned too, we've always got somebody we can, if we want to ask a question, but more importantly, or as importantly, I should say, we've got this particular scenario whereby if it's outside of the area that which you cover, there's all these other people that are actually sort of, you can actually pick on locally.
Your property searching family. Sharon, can you talk to me a little bit about your earlier relationship with IPSA, and how it's led you through to where you are now? A bit more of your story.
So I worked for. I started. I think it was 2006, working for PSG, a well-known brand in the search industry, a good name. And I worked for the Hounslow office, and then I acquired a franchise for the Hillingdon, and then PSG got bought out, and the whole personal relationships, things like that had gone. So I didn't really know where I fitted in that corporate company. And the gentleman who owned the PSG franchise of Hounslow introduced me to Barty. And so I went straight into Whitefield. And what I liked about Barty, had been running for so long by herself. I think she'd been approached to buy franchises, and she said, no, I want to remain independent. Why would I, give up my company to another name when I've worked so hard? So I really admired her and respected her for that. So we worked together for 6 years, and that's when, I got more involved with IPSA. And when we started going to IPSA, it was, IPSA members getting connections there and building relationships with a lot of the sponsors, who then, as me and Barty worked together to grow the company, were great support. And then IPSA was growing, and you built relationships, so people would send you work because they trusted you, that they, you just increased your reputation and support and sharing ideas and new things that we could offer our client, along with the knowledge and expertise of our searches and quick turnaround times,
Yes.
accurate information in the report. So it's not become just, it is about searches and the hard work and the efforts that we really go to offer the best support out there to conveyancers, saving them time,
what Jackie always says is, it's not taking everything at face value, being willing and interested enough and having that inquiring mind to want to look beneath the obvious and see what else is underneath it.
Exactly.
Can I just ask, let me ask you two more questions really before I pass back to Hamish. when you started with IPSA, I mean, were you at that mind perceiving it as being almost a kite mark of good searching? And secondly, in the second part two of that question is, do you think what do you think is most relevant to both solicitors and conveyancers as well as potential members of IPSA? What is most important thing they should know?
I think, for example, being independent businesses, you've got a support. So you've got a support, you've got knowledge, because if you're setting up on your own, if you've got a small team, you've got people to rely on. And second of all, over the years, I've just seen there is so much more. We have been bombarded with large corporate companies, which, at some point you think, is there a place for us independent personal search agents? And I'm sure everyone had their ups and downs, but now I see that there is. And why would I set up on my own if I didn't think that there was a place and to be part of a supportive community? But people like the service, they like the relationship, they like, working with someone they can rely on that will deliver, in the time that they're just not a small customer of a large corporate. They're actually, someone we actually care. And that's what I say the majority of the time. I care. I want to help. And, I want to help streamline the process and speed it up and be the person at the end of the phone that people can call. And that's what every other member of IPSA stands for. So they share my values, and I feel part of that. And yes, probably what inspired me. So yeah, brilliant.
It's not just about fast information, it's about good information, the right information. Hamish, it's wonderful to have Sharon back. Would you care to wrap up and take us home, please?
Well, certainly, and I do hope our viewers can see, because many of you are not IPSA members, but you can actually sort of see that the value of what IPSA sort of stands for, what IPSA does in itself as a group, as a cooperative, because it's a rare thing, because the majority of scenarios that you find out there do tend to be large corporates who organise what has come to be called, and you hear solicitors calling that an awful lot of the time, factory conveyancing, where the pressure is on to get the volume through, high volume, all the rest of it. And little is thought of either the people providing the searches or the people like solicitors carrying out the work. What we like to be able to do, and in a particular case that Sharon's just helped us out on, basically we want to take pressure away from those who are working to assess, if you like, because what solicitors are doing and what conveyancers are doing, they are assessing the risk of a property, and right. They need this detail to assess what risk there is, not just currently, but if they wanted to sell that property. So they need to iron out so many things. And many of you will know Zara from many of the meetings that she's actually attended, and the way in which you go to that right solicitor, you go to that right person, you're really going to get tremendous well. And of course, IPSA members, because of their ethos, what they're going to do, their clients are going to be quality clients as well. So from that particular point of view, it's like minds working together. And I think we've seen a switch, and we're going to see more of it coming, that people are looking towards getting personal service, which is missing so much at the moment in much of what we do. Oh, let's get it from Amazon. What the hell was involved with that? What person was involved with that? And so many things. You go into these shops, and what is that? The number of products I actually see on the shop in a supermarket now, and it's all written in a foreign language. I don't know what it is. Before you be able to speak to someone and say, well, what is this? Now we develop our relationship with our clients as IPSA members, and they benefit from the service, which, like as Sharon said, she's at the end of the phone there. She's carrying out the search. So any queries at all, she knows who to contact, who to speak to, and get the situation sort of resolved without holding it up for weeks and weeks, which can actually sort of happen if you're working with somebody who's sat at their desk. They don't know the counsellors effectively.
Well,
But as I said, great place to be.
fantastic. IPSA is a wonderful place for people to feel supported, and more importantly, and this is probably more important to conveyancers and solicitors who want to use them, they do their very best to get the searches through done as quickly as possible, yet providing with the right information so you can make the best decisions. Thank you so much once again, Hamish McClay of Search Convey, and Sharon Whitney. Welcome back to the fold. Not
Thanks
at
for
all.
having me on.
Well, no, it's always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you at perhaps the next event. It'll be great to meet you in person. And to all you watching, I hope you get from this the sense of the camaraderie, the community, the support, but at the same time the regulated nature of IPSA and its members. And if you want to find out more information, please do go and speak to Hamish McClay or Heather Poole-Gleed, who were more than happy to regale you with ways in which IPSA can help you. And if you're interested in becoming associated, becoming a member or sponsoring, please don't hesitate to ask as well. Until tomorrow, which is the next of our property portfolio of podcasts, we have, of course, Property Quorum, which I'm looking forward to. And on Friday, of course, the great bun fight that is Cladding Matters. We've got some great stuff to discuss there. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and please try and look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.
Local skill, national connection. Independent, but never alone. IPSA, where your professional home.